Are you considering living in Louisville, Kentucky, and you're wondering about our pros and cons? Maybe you've watched some of my other videos, but you're wondering what are the pros and cons in 2024? Well, in today's video, I'm going to tell you the real truth about the good, the bad, and the ugly of living in Louisville, Kentucky. So let's jump right in. Welcome back. I'm Katie.skeen, a local realtor here in Louisville, Kentucky, and on my channel, we discuss all things related to living in and moving to Louisville, Kentucky. In today's video, I'm going to tell you my true feelings about the good, the bad, and the ugly of living in Louisville, Kentucky. Now you're going to want to make sure to stick around till the end of this video because I'm going to share with you the truly ugly things about living in Louisville that really everyone should know before they get here. First, let's start off with some of the good things that Louisville has to offer. One of the wonderful things that Louisville is known for is all of its green space. Now, we're often making it onto a national list for having the most green space for our area. Louisville Parks and Recreation has approximately 120 parks here in our city, and so there's so many wonderful green spaces and places to explore for people of all ages and backgrounds. Some of our most notable public parks would be those that were designed by Frederick Olmsted. Now, Cherokee Park was designed by him and also Central Park. We have several Olmsted parks here in Louisville. Now, if you're curious about who that guy is, Frederick Olmsted was the same guy who designed Central Park in New York City. He is a renowned landscape architect, and it's pretty fantastic that he has left a mark here on our Louisville parks. These parks are beautiful and they're well designed, and it's just a great place to enjoy. I think my favorite is probably Cherokee Park. There's so many beautiful parts of this park. I love to do the 2.5, well, it's a little bit less than 2.5, but 2.2 mile loop around the park. You get to see a lot of different areas of the park. You get to see a lot of people out enjoying the outdoors. And I've just always enjoyed Cherokee Park. We also have the Parklands park system here in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, this is a privately owned park system. It actually includes 4 different interconnected parks. It spans over 4,000 acres, and if you are a nature lover or if you like the outdoors, these parks are going to have everything, okay? They have your traditional park settings with pavilions and playgrounds and splash grounds for the kids, but they also have amazing nature and hiking trails. There's biking trails. You can actually bike through all 4 different parks if you're like really into long distance road biking, but there are paved pathways. There are people who go boating and enjoy tubing down the creek. So it has a little bit of everything for you in these park systems. One of my favorite things is to do the Nature Woodlawn Trail. Is that right? Yeah, that's what it's called. But it's just a really nice little hike, especially if you have smaller children or older population. Like anybody really should be able to do this hike. It's not too strenuous. There's a lot of nice little places to stop and rest along the way. It's just a beautiful hike that they've created that really anyone should be able to do. The last green space that we offer is Jefferson Memorial Forest. Now, this is one of my favorite places to go with my family. They have hiking, of course, but they also have camping. Now, the camping at Jefferson Memorial is going to be more rustic. There's not electricity hookups there. You know, you're really roughing it and you're getting to learn if you can survive in the great outdoors. Jefferson Memorial Forest also has a really nice nature playground. They have a nature center where you can go when it's open and learn about different animals and wildlife that live in Jefferson Memorial Forest. So this is a great place for nature enthusiasts. This is a great place for families to go. Jefferson Memorial Forest is one of the largest urban forests in the United States. And it's right here, just 20 minutes from downtown. So if you are camping there, don't be alarmed. It's in the flight path of our airport, so you will be able to hear the airplanes going over while you're sleeping out there in your tent. Another great thing about living in Louisville is the food scene. Now, we have made it onto several different lists over the last few years. In 2023, Travel and Leisure magazine actually voted Louisville, Kentucky as one of the best foodie cities in America. We excel in this food in many different ways. Of course, we have the southern kind of hospitality and charm and all of the like fried chicken and biscuits and all of that kind of stuff. We have that flavor of Southern food here in Louisville, but we also have really great farm to table food. And then of course, bourbon is really famous here in Kentucky. So a lot of our restaurants will reflect that as part of their flavor and part of their culture. Travel magazine actually says this about Louisville, Kentucky. While Louisville is best known for its bourbon, you won't want to sleep on its exciting food scene, boasting more than 2,500 500 restaurants plus several award-winning chefs, Louisville is sure to delight food and drink enthusiasts alike. I think a lot of restaurants end up testing their market here in Louisville, so we're constantly getting new restaurants to try. If you're interested in some of my favorite restaurants, be sure to check out my video, The Best Restaurants in Louisville, Kentucky. The third good thing about living in Louisville, Kentucky is its affordability. So let's pause and just talk for a second about the cost of living here in Louisville, Kentucky. Payscale.com says that the cost of living in Louisville is 4% less than the national average. Now, I've seen it lower on different indexes and scales as well, but that's what Payscale is saying. In the housing category, we're 21% lower. In the food category, we're 6% lower than the national average. Utilities and transportation is an area where we tend to be higher than the national average. Now, of course, the cost of living is impacted by various factors such as what your job is, what kind of house you choose to live in, but overall, you'll find that the cost of living in Louisville, Kentucky is significantly lower than some of the other places in the United States, especially if you're coming from a place like in California or New York City. I know we have a lot of people relocating to Louisville from that area, and they find it to be a much more affordable price point, especially for families. Now, I know there's other places that are more affordable, but I think in the scope of our United States, it is a very affordable place to live. Now, unfortunately, not everything in Louisville is good. So let's talk about some of the bad things of living in Louisville, Kentucky. The first is the weather. We have a lot of natural disasters, I guess. We have tornadoes, we have flooding. Just this past week, we had terrible winter weather. Now, this can be a pro or a con, depending on your personal preferences, but the summers tend to be hot and humid. The winters are more mild compared to some of our northern states, but we still do get that winter weather. And then I think the biggest challenge for me is the flooding in Louisville. I think we're kind of right in that sweet spot where instead of getting all the snow, we're just getting a lot of rain, especially later in the winter and into the spring. We see a ton of rainfall here in Louisville. This can cause a lot of flash flooding in our area. We have a lot of issues with water intrusion in basements, so I am never surprised when I read on a seller disclosure that we are getting water in the basement. It's very common, and so we have a lot of basement waterproofing companies. That's a challenge we have to overcome with many properties here in Louisville. Over the past 10 years, we have had 504 severe weather events in Louisville, Kentucky. This averages out to about 45 severe weather events per year. The most common severe weather events that we have per year would be thunderstorms with high winds. We usually have about 24 or 25 of those, followed by flash flooding, which is typically averaged out to be about 9 flash flooding events per year. We also have hail, usually on average 6 hail events per year. Now, for severe weather, this is considered middle of the pack for the United States. So I'm not saying it's the worst, it's just not the best weather. Now, another thing you're going to want to be in tune with is the air quality. We have not very good air quality here in Louisville. The American Lung Association comes out with the State of the Air report every year, and Louisville for the past few years has been one of the worst air qualities that we have. Louisville's rankings were worse for some of the most harmful and widespread air pollution. The area ranked the 63rd worst for short-term particle pollution, and they were ranked 27th most polluted for year-round particle pollution. It also showed that we had more days in the year that were categorized as very unhealthy or hazardous, especially for our sensitive population. So if you're particularly sensitive to the air quality, if you have asthma, respiratory issues, then I think that's something you're going to want to consider in moving to Louisville because our air quality is really poor here. And of course, we saved the ugly things for last. There are 2 ugly things that I want to share with you. The first ugly thing I want to share with you is our crime rate here in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, unfortunately, it seems like all across the United States, crime continues to get worse, and we see that trend in Louisville as well. If we look at national averages, the Louisville violent crime rate is right around 46. This is almost double what the national average is. So we do have a lot more violent crime in comparison to other cities in the United States. The property crime score is right at 87.2. When we compare that to the national average of 35.4, this is almost actually triple what the national average is. These scores indicate a significant problem with criminal activity in our area. Now, I know it's something the city is trying to address and trying to work on, I think we are making progress in these areas. I know we had less homicides in 2023 than we did in 2022. We also saw an improvement in non-fatal shootings in 2023. It was down by 3%. So they are making some small improvements to the crime, but this is something that really needs to be addressed and considered in our city. Another ugly thing about living in Louisville is the public school system. Now, I want to give you a disclaimer. My kids are in the public school system and we're having a great experience. So, I mean, no offense to any public school teachers out there. I'm a very big advocate of the public school system here, but it is a very challenging system to navigate. And unfortunately, there aren't a ton of great opportunities for all of the city. U.S. News and World Report ranks us 32nd for our state in comparison to other states for education. Here are a couple of quick stats about our public school system here in Louisville, Kentucky. Within Jefferson County public schools, just 26% of economically disadvantaged elementary students had proficient or distinguished scores in reading, according to the latest Kentucky School Report Card. The report found that 60% of non-economically disadvantaged elementary school students had proficient or distinguished scores in reading. And math, 19% of economically disadvantaged elementary school students had proficient or distinguished scores, and 50% of non-economically disadvantaged elementary school students earned proficient or distinguished scores in math. You may have also heard about our national news story when we made the national news earlier this school year when we had a massive bus failure at the beginning of the school year in 2023. So I think there's just a lot of issues coming out with our public school system right now. So if you're considering living here, this is a question that a lot of people want to know about. It's not impossible to navigate the public school system here. A lot of families end up choosing the more simple and straightforward school system in Oldham County, but there are definitely ways to find great schools for your kids here in Jefferson County. Now, if you're interested in more information about how to navigate the public school system, be sure to check out my videos about the public school system here in Louisville. And I will say our public school system has the #1 high school in the state, DuPont Manual High. We definitely have some schools that are performing well above average and doing great in our state. I hope you've enjoyed this video about the good, the bad, and the ugly of living in Louisville, Kentucky. If you're interested in more information about moving to Louisville, be sure to check out my video, Moving to Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.